one wrong move, and the prophet would die. They lowered him slowly into the dark pit. The thick mud swallowed his body almost instantly. With every passing second, the prophet sank deeper, slowly drowning in darkness while the guards laughed, mocked him, and left him there to die. But in the middle of the chaos, a simple servant ran to save him. Ebed Melech lived in Jerusalem peacefully, but soon a terrifying threat moved closer to Jerusalem. The Babylonians were powerful conquerors, known for their brutal armies, massive sieges, and ruthless destruction. And the only voice that could save Jerusalem from destruction was the prophet that was slowly dying. But to understand why the prophet was forced to drown in the mud, we must first go back to the beginning of Ebed Melech's story. A long time ago, in the grand and terrifying city of Jerusalem, lived a man named Ebed Melech. He was a humble servant from the distant, sun-baked land of Cush, but he was about to become the single bravest hero in an entire burning kingdom. The city he lived in, Jerusalem, was slowly and painfully choking to death. Outside the massive stone walls, a monstrous army from a faraway empire called Babylon had set up their camp. These ruthless warriors were a crushing machine of human history. Their heavy iron armor shined like a terrifying sea of fire, and their huge, monstrous siege weapons cast long, dark shadows over the frightened city. They had surrounded Jerusalem so completely that not a single person could escape, and not a single crumb of bread could be brought inside the gates. The air inside the city was heavy, filled with the endless sounds of crying babies and the sour smell of pure fear. The people were starving. The royal bakeries were completely empty, and desperation had turned good neighbors into wild, angry people willing to fight over a single drop of water. Out of all the thousands of trapped people, there was one man who the arrogant city leaders hated more than the mighty Babylonian army waiting outside. His name was Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a prophet who spoke the very words of the creator of the universe, and his words were absolutely terrifying. He stood right in the middle of the dusty streets and shouted that the beautiful city was completely doomed. He looked at the rich kings and the starving people, declaring that God was allowing the Babylonians to destroy Jerusalem because the people had been terribly, unforgivably wicked. His brutal, honest message was clear. If you stay inside these giant stone walls and try to fight, you will die a horrible death by the sword or starvation. But if you walk out the gates right now and surrender to the cruel Babylonians, you will live. To the powerful, greedy princes of Jerusalem, these words were pure poison. They wanted to fight to the bitter end, even if every innocent child in the city starved to death. They hated Jeremiah with a burning, blinding passion and wanted to shut his mouth forever. They thought they could simply bury the prophet alive and make his terrifying words disappear into the dirt. But they had absolutely no idea that a quiet foreigner, watching from the dark shadows of the palace, was about to make a shocking decision that would flip the fate of the dying kingdom completely upside down. The vicious princes marched right up to King Zedekiah. The king wore a heavy, beautiful golden crown, but on the inside, he was a weak, terrified, cowardly little man. When the angry princes demanded that Jeremiah be taken away, the king just threw his hands up in the air, basically signing the great prophet's death warrant without lifting a single finger to stop them. The princes did not just want to kill Jeremiah quickly with a sharp sword. They wanted him to suffer a slow, agonizing, mind-breaking death. They dragged the old prophet violently away to a giant cistern, a massive, incredibly deep hole carved straight into the earth. Because of the horrible drought, there was no drinking water inside. But the bottom of this pitch-black pit was far worse than dry dirt. It was a thick, freezing, suffocating swamp of heavy black mud. The princes tied rough, painfully scratching ropes around Jeremiah's waist and shoved him over the edge, lowering him down into absolute pitch-black darkness. Down he went, the light of the sun disappearing above him like a dying star. When his bare feet hit the bottom, he didn't stop moving. He sank. The freezing mud sucked at his legs like a living monster, pulling him down to his waist. The sickening smell of rotting earth filled his lungs. The princes pulled the ropes back up, laughed a cruel, wicked laugh at the old man trapped in the belly of the earth, and walked away to let him starve alone. It seemed like the absolute end for the great prophet. He was completely buried alive, entirely forgotten by the world above. But before the freezing mud could completely swallow the prophet's final breath, deep inside the royal palace, Ebed Melech was about to do something so wildly dangerous and reckless, it could easily cost him his own head before the sun came up. Ebed Melech was walking quietly through the grand halls of the palace when he heard the awful whispers. He heard the cruel, heavily armed guards laughing about the old man sinking in the mud. When Ebed Melech heard this, something deep inside his heart snapped. He was not a soldier with a shiny sword or thick armor. He was just a servant. But the absolute, disgusting wickedness of leaving a good, innocent man to rot filled him with a massive, unstoppable fire of righteous anger. He knew exactly what the risks were. If he opened his mouth, the angry, violent princes might grab him by the throat and throw him into the hole, too. He knew Jeremiah had no food or water, and the frail prophet would be dead in a matter of hours from the crushing weight of the mud squeezing his chest. Ebed Melech did not hide in his room. He did not wait for someone else to be the hero. He marched straight out of the palace and walked directly toward the gate of Benjamin, where King Zedekiah was sitting surrounded by his terrifying royal guard. To approach the king without an invitation, and to loudly accuse the king's most powerful friends of pure evil, was practically suicide. Ebed Melech stood before the king, completely surrounded by giant guards carrying spears who could end his life in a single second. With a loud, booming voice that echoed off the ancient stone walls, Ebed Melech pointed his finger right at the corruption. He looked the terrified king straight in the eyes and yelled, "My lord the king! These men have done an incredibly evil thing! They have thrown Jeremiah the prophet into the cistern. He is going to die down there in the mud right now because there is no more bread left anywhere in the entire city!" It was a breathtaking, heart-stopping moment of pure, unfiltered bravery. A servant from Africa standing in front of the king of Judah, loudly calling out the most powerful men in the city for being absolute monsters. King Zedekiah, totally shocked by the explosive courage of this one servant, finally woke up and did the right thing. He ordered Ebed Melech to take 30 strong, muscular men and pull Jeremiah out of the death pit immediately. The king gave the order, and that was a miracle in itself. But the hardest, most impossible part was yet to come. Because saving a weak, dying man from the freezing, suctioning belly of the earth required a brilliant, gentle, genius plan that absolutely no one saw coming, or else the rescue itself would quickly kill the prophet. Ebed Melech rushed frantically back into the palace, his mind working 10 times faster than normal. He knew Jeremiah was an incredibly old, starving, frail man. If they just threw rough, heavy ropes down the terrifying hole and violently yanked the old man up with the strength of 30 men, the ropes would instantly slice right through his delicate skin, breaking his ribs and tearing his flesh. Pulling him out the wrong, careless way could kill him faster than the mud. So, Ebed Melech ran down into a secret, dusty storage room deep under the royal treasury, where old, useless, forgotten things were thrown away. He frantically dug through the piles and gathered huge bundles of old, soft rags and pieces of worn-out, gentle fabric. He bundled these soft rags high into his arms, grabbed the thick, heavy ropes, and led his 30-strong men sprinting through the city streets to the prison courtyard. They arrived at the edge of the pit and looked down into the terrifying, pitch-black hole that smelled like death. Ebed Melech called down, his loud voice echoing in the deep cavern. He carefully lowered the huge bundle of soft rags down on a string first, followed closely by the heavy ropes. He yelled down into the total darkness, "Jeremiah, listen to my voice. Take these old rags and put them securely under your armpits, and then wrap the heavy ropes tightly around the rags." It was an incredible sight. In a burning, starving city where people were literally killing each other in the streets for a dirty crust of bread, this foreign servant was taking the extra time to make sure an old man's skin wouldn't get bruised. Down in the horrible dark, violently shivering and completely covered in freezing slime, Jeremiah did exactly as he was told. He tucked the soft, warm rags under his arms and tied the ropes tightly. Ebed Melech gave the loud command. The 30 men planted their boots into the stone floor, grabbed the ropes, and pulled with all their might. The mud fought back fiercely, holding onto the prophet like a giant sticky hand. The men strained, their muscles burning until the mud made a loud, disgusting, squelching sound and finally let go. They pulled Jeremiah up, hand over hand, up the terrifying tunnel until he tumbled over the edge onto the hard stone floor. He was a horrific sight, caked entirely in thick black mud, gasping for air, shaking violently and looking like a ghost. But he was breathing. He was alive. Against all odds, Ebed Melech had just snatched a man right out of the terrifying jaws of death. The great prophet was safe for the moment. But the incredible, mind-blowing story was still far from over. A terrifying, unstoppable fire was about to fall from the sky upon the entire city, and out of the smoking ashes of a ruined kingdom, Ebed Melech's own fate was about to be sealed forever by a secret, shocking message from God himself. Outside the city walls, the clock had finally run out. The mighty, terrifying Babylonian army was preparing their final, devastating, earth-shattering attack. Jerusalem was about to be completely wiped off the map of the world. Every single person inside the walls was going to either be slaughtered or dragged away into a lifetime of slavery. But God in heaven, who sees absolutely everything, had seen exactly what happened in that muddy courtyard. He had watched the rich princes act like vicious cowards. He had watched the king hide in fear, and he had watched Ebed Melech, a servant from another country, risk his own life and use his brilliant mind to save a dying prophet. And the creator of the universe absolutely never forgets a brave heart. While Jeremiah was resting, the word of the Lord came to him with a private, top-secret message. It wasn't for the king, and it wasn't for the generals. It was specifically, exclusively for the servant holding the dirty rags. Jeremiah looked at Ebed Melech and spoke the very words of God, a promise so powerful it would give anyone goosebumps. I am about to fulfill my words against this city through absolute disaster. But I will rescue you on that day, declares the Lord. You will not be handed over to those violent men you fear. I will completely save you. And then, just days later, the nightmare finally exploded. The Babylonians smashed through the incredibly thick stone walls. The horrific sound of screaming and breaking stone echoed for miles into the mountains. The sky turned completely black with choking smoke. as the beautiful royal palace and grand houses were set completely on fire. The cruel princes were hunted down in the streets and captured. King Zedekiah tried to run away into the desert in the pitch-black night. But the terrifying Babylonian soldiers chased him down, violently blinded him, and wrapped him in heavy bronze chains to rot in a foreign prison. The great city of Jerusalem was completely, utterly destroyed, turned into a giant pile of smoking, bloody rocks. But right in the absolute middle of the choking smoke, the crashing walls, and the terrifying, screaming soldiers swinging giant swords, there was one single man walking through the total chaos, completely and miraculously unharmed. Just as God had sworn to him, the sharp swords of the Babylonians did not even touch Ebed Melech. He walked right out of the dying, burning city, stepping over the ruins, and escaped with his life, walking into the future protected by the hand of God.
Hey guys, hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe and comment which country you guys come from. It'll truly help us. If you like this video, then I'm sure you'll love this video also. Till the next video, see you later.